FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome, and you are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. It's 11/13 of 2018. Just a month and a half left till this year concludes and joins the others in history. Well, hey, much has happened, much is happening. President Trump, we've never seen anything like him, especially on trade. And hey, by the way, join us in the dialogue. Just email us, kl@kerrylutz.com. I'm busy catching up on your emails now. So trade war with China, I prefer to call it an economic war because we've been in one for 30 years now and just haven't realized it or haven't joined it until President Trump came along. Well, now we've got the stories of the Chinese diverting large volumes of internet traffic from Verizon over to China. It's happened for 30 months. Hard to believe no one could track it. No one knew it was happening, but that is what happened. Well, Jeff Ferry is with us now. Jeff of Coalition for a Prosperous America. Welcome back.
Hi, Kerry. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So what's with this China thing now? And it just happens. We just happen to be informed of it right now, which is kind of fortuitous, isn't it?
Yes, it's amazing that it went on for so long undetected. But, you know, these things happen in the world of, dare I say it, espionage. What we can tell based on what the internet experts who discover this problem say is the motivation is probably corporate espionage, getting large volumes of internet traffic to go through China where they can be tapped off and copied and then dissected looking for corporate secrets. That's probably the motive. And, espionage works by attacking your enemy somewhere where he doesn't expect it. And we didn't expect it here in our domestic internet. And the reason we didn't is because we've got huge volumes of internet traffic carried by literally hundreds of different telecom companies. And we don't have a system to police that process. And I'm sure, although we haven't seen it said publicly, I'm sure that behind the scenes somewhere in Washington and where these large telecom companies are headquartered, there is some discussion now of how we can police it. But I'll tell you, it's not easy.
No, every every internet router on the web is a potential vulnerability, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Until we can find a way to improve the software, it's clear now that somebody with bad intentions can spoof a router into thinking that it's speaking to another router that is not who it says it is. In other words, you got routers in the U.S. who thought they were sending traffic in the U.S. and really they were sending traffic via China Telecom's network and China Telecom's routers, and it was going back to China. And such is the speed of internet traffic, it travels at just below the speed of light that you don't even notice it. If your email arrives a second later, you don't notice it. And, it could be due to any other sort of congestion on the network.
Yeah, I see your point here. And it really is a little terrifying. But, hey, that's the world we're living in now. And there's not much we can do about it, I guess, but we're probably doing the same thing to the Chinese as well, although nobody talks about that, correct? I mean, because the internet was invented here, and we've been kind of monkeying with it ever since.
Well, I think the big difference is, there's national security espionage and there's corporate espionage, and I think it's fair to say that the United States practices a hell of a lot less corporate espionage than China does. And I'd say most countries in the West that we're used to do not engage in huge amounts of corporate espionage. And as you know, people in this country have been convicted and sent to jail for that sort of corporate skullduggery. So, I think we're a more law-abiding people that way. And, I think, you can see open comments from the Chinese Communist Party leaders over the last 20 or 30 years, that the Americans have an unfair advantage in technology, and loyal Chinese people, wherever they are in the world, should do whatever they can to overcome that advantage. That's an invitation and a legitimization of corporate espionage. And I think in this side, we try not to do that. Our laws make it clear that you shouldn't do that, and we punish people. Okay, there are always a few bad apples, but many of them do get punished.
Yeah, well, I agree with you there, but I think we're taking everything as well. I mean, like the U.S. has done economic espionage for a century, right? I mean, it's just, it just...
well, national security espionage, sure, we do that, and I think we do a good job at it from the little we can tell. But, and then there's another aspect of it, which is we're not allowed to operate the Internet in China. Mm-hmm. So... we can look at what they're doing over here and look at their products. And I know when I worked for a technology company, we certainly studied their products when they put them in display in a trade show in the West. But what they do there is they operate their Internet in a very secure fashion. Mm-hmm. When they buy American Internet products, they monitor them very carefully. They don't let American telecom companies or Internet companies act there. I mean, you see Google is now doing backflips to try and get back into the Chinese market, agreeing to work with Chinese censors. I don't know if I approve of that, but it just puts a window on how carefully they control their internal Internet. And, people in this country like to say, it's impossible to control things. The Internet is global, blah, blah, blah. Well, they've got a nation of over 1 billion people, and they do an excellent job of controlling what gets in, what gets out. And, you don't want to be searching on terms that the Chinese government disapproves of if you live in China, because you're going to get that knock on the door. So we obviously are not and won't move to a totalitarian state, thank God. But we can and should do a better job of controlling enemy forces within our Internet.
Yeah, we definitely should. And hopefully we'll do a better job now. Trump seems to care a great deal about this, and he gets it. And yet this is just another item on the table when dealing with China, where Trump has really put his foot down, hasn't he?
Yes. I mean, he's taking an aggressive approach and saying, look, we have to fix this trading relationship, as we've discussed before. We import roughly 5 times as much as we export to China. That can't go on. It's hurt our industries, and these tariffs are having an impact. They are hurting Chinese industry. We're seeing Chinese export orders. Actually, they surged in the most recent month, but the purchasing managers index of what's coming in the future shows declines. So the Chinese economy is suffering. We've seen Chinese companies say we're going to go open up production facilities in Vietnam and elsewhere because they see the writing on the wall that they're going to have more luck exporting to the United States from Southeast Asia than they will from China. And that's worried the Chinese economy, the Chinese government. And so, we are making progress. I think we're heading in the right direction there.
Yeah. Hey, well, nobody else has wanted to take on the task. And, Trump is the one. So what do you think we can look forward to here in the future? What's going to happen here?
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next.
Egypt is on the verge, once again, becoming a world-renowned gold producer. The Golden Age is being rediscovered. For millennia, ancient Egyptian kingdoms prospered from unparalleled riches. Pharaohs built their empires and flaunted their abundant wealth that was made possible by the country's resource-rich gold deposits. Despite this rich history, modern Egypt remains one of the most underdeveloped gold mining countries in the world. Eitan Resources is at the center of the modern Egyptian mining world, diligently working both as the only public exploration company in Egypt today and as the advocate for mining reform with the Egyptian government. However, those that arrive early like Eitan will reap the best rewards. Eitan's discovery of the legendary Lost Mountain of Gold at Rodruin and its current aggressive drilling program there could potentially reap those rewards. Eitan Resources is focused on its 100% owned Abu Marawat concession in the Arabian-Nubian Shield, located 200 kilometers north of Centamin Sakari's world-class gold mine. Eitan possesses first-mover advantage in the underfollowed jurisdiction of Egypt, which is currently undergoing mining reform. To stay on top of Eitan's latest drill results and news, go to eitanresources.com. Eitan trades on the TSX-V under the ticker AAN and on the OTC under the ticker ANLBF.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Well, what I'm hoping is that the tariffs set the stage for a return of certain industries to the United States of America. What I'd like to see, you think of some of these industries, furniture, toys, technology, to mention three large industries that have moved wholesale to Asia and mainly China. There's no reason why over the next 5 years we can't see production begin to restart in this country, bringing back manufacturing jobs and restoring prosperity and restoring some of these technologies, because there's technology in manufacturing everything. There's technology in manufacturing toys and furniture and all the rest of it. And we need to do that here. I think it's a giant fallacy to think we can design things here and have all the production done elsewhere. Ultimately, the design would move there too. So I'm optimistic that we're going to see progressively over the next 5 years production returning to the United States of America.
Hey, well, hopefully you are correct from your mouth to God's ears. I mean, Trump has said in his recent press conference that he wants immigration because there's hundreds of companies moving back here, and we need the employees, the staff, right?
Yes, I mean, we do have shortages of workers in certain industries. And, our coalition, we don't take a position on the immigration, which is a hot button issue. I'm sure you folks talk about it a lot. Yeah. So I'm not going to take a position on that issue. The way I would put it is this way. Our members are telling us that there are shortages of skilled workers in certain industries. What we need to do first in this country is to get Americans to come back to manufacturing industry. To do that, we need to see growth in manufacturing, which we are seeing this year. We need to see more confidence return that these industries are going to be here for the long term. And then we need to see people training and taking vocational courses and learning about how to operate things like computer-controlled machine tools and returning to those jobs. And we also need to see manufacturing wages edge up. And we're seeing just the beginning of that. We need to see more 3 and even 4% growth in manufacturing wages. And then Americans will become more confident that manufacturing is something that America ought to be doing, and it's the right and the best place to work for all those people, which is the majority of Americans who don't want to get a 4-year college degree. And after we meet all those demands, then we need workers to come in from overseas to fill the gaps that still exist.
Agreed. So you're basically optimistic here? Do you think we can put a lid on China, on their nefarious misdeeds?
Well, I would say I'm optimistic that this is going to lead to that. We're already seeing between 3 and 4% economic growth here in this country. We're seeing jobs go up. We're seeing wages start to edge up. So as an economist, I'm optimistic about all those things. And I think economically decoupling from China is going to help this economy. But when you say, can we put a lid on China's nefarious practices, I guess I don't see us fundamentally changing the Chinese Communist Party, but I do see us changing how the trading relationship works. And to the extent they engage in nefarious practices, there are ways we can keep those practices outside of our borders. So that's what makes me optimistic.
Okay. And there's an awareness and obviously a desire to do something about it. Congress, you would have thought they would have been all over this, Jeff, but they just don't seem to care anything about it.
I think, I'm disappointed in Congress. They can't put together a decent trade policy to save their lives. A lot of them are special interest groups. They respond to the farmers, and even the farmers. We have farmers in our group who support the tariff policies, but some of the agricultural lobbies are dominated by the giant meat packers who really are multinationals interested in importing products more than they are in seeing American production continue. So I'm a little disappointed in Congress. On the other hand, I would say that when we speak to Democrats on Capitol Hill, there's growing acceptance that, yes, China is a problem and something does need to be done. So let's see what happens when the Democrats assemble in January and we've got a new Congress. We've got Nancy Pelosi as a speaker. I'm thinking that we may see a quietly, cooperative approach. While there'll be very loud Democrats who will criticize everything President Trump does, I think the labor union members of our coalition are very positive on the Mexico-Canada agreement. They have influence with Democrats in Congress. So you may see some more cooperation on trade issues than we have seen in the past.
Interesting. Well, I think you could be right. But it seems like the Democrats don't really care about the unions anymore. They more or less care about illegal aliens courting their vote, pandering to them, whatever it takes. And you have to wonder, Nancy Pelosi, not the most rational of leaders, and certainly could be argued maybe having onset of certain age-related ailments that I hope none of us ever get. But, you just can't, and you can't trust her. She's gotten super wealthy being in Congress. So she's not going to be our savior on this topic for sure. But maybe she will see the light of day. You never know.
But she and others. So my answer is she and others are concerned about winning elections. And I think and I hope they're going to realize that in the vast middle of this country, from Pennsylvania across to Iowa, for them to win elections, they need issues that those folks respond to. And as you say, in both coasts, they'll be very loud on immigration and everything to do with identity politics. But I'm hopeful that they realize that Trump has struck a chord with his issues in that middle of the country, and they need to respond. So I'm no political expert. I'm just a humble economist with my spreadsheets here in Virginia. But I'm hoping that they start to see that the nature of the electorate forces them to become a little more realistic.
Yeah. Well, I'm just remembering a saying by Will Rogers, ignorance got us into this mess and ignorance will get us out. And that's when it comes to ignorance, Democrats seem to have no second, do they?
Well, we're a bipartisan organization. We try to have good relations with both parties. So I'm going to, stick with my position that I'm optimistic that both sides in Congress will start to see the light and work towards a more rational trade policy, because we need a better trade policy to boost manufacturing and incomes and wages and prosperity in this country.
Well, let's hope for the best here. Prepare for the worst, hope for the best, right?
Right.
That's what we need to do.
Look, we're doing good right now. We got growth better than 3.5%. We got wages going up. Like I say, I think we've got tariffs on half of our Chinese imports. The other half is going to come, and I think that's going to stimulate production in this country.
I hope you're right, and certainly it's working thus far. The concern is that the boost from the tax cuts is wearing off, and maybe we're heading south. I don't know. I rather doubt it. I don't think it's happening. I think just a lot of uncertainty right now, economic, otherwise. Hey, Jeff, so the best place to find you is obviously prosperousamerica.org, and I suggest you go there, join check out the site. Real interesting work that you're just not going to find anywhere else. Questions for Jeff or myself, email us, kl@kerrylutz.com. The Twitter feed is @KerryLutz. The Facebook page is Financial Survival Network. Jeff, thanks for coming on again. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Sure, Kerry. Thanks a lot. Always good to talk to you.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.